Good morning, it's October 6th. This is To My Liberal Friends. We're now entering the second week of the government shutdown, and the question that everyone keeps asking is, how do we end this standoff? Make no mistake, this is about politics and nothing more. The issue the Democrats have raised about health care is nothing more than a smokescreen and a pretense for them to vote no. Last March, Chuck Schumer blinked and delivered enough Democratic votes to pass a clean continuing resolution. This meant that the funding from the previous Biden administration would remain in place until the Congress could do its job and pass the appropriations bills. It bought them time until the end of the fiscal year, but once again, Congress was inept and the bills remain unpassed. So what's the origin of the current stalemate? To make health insurance more affordable to those that did not have coverage to an employer, the government offered tax credits, which are federal subsidies that reduce the monthly cost of health insurance premiums. To be eligible for those subsidies, they were provided to incomes between 100% and 400% of the federal poverty level. Under this plan, people would pay no more than 10% of their income for health insurance, and that all started in 2010. Let's fast forward to 2021, and during COVID, Democrats passed the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. They expanded the eligibility and income caps were removed, allowing more people, including many people with good incomes, to qualify for the assistance. The amount of the subsidy was increased at this time, which meant that people paid a lower percentage of their income. Democrats later passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with inflation. And in that bill, they had extended the enhanced subsidies until the end of 2025. All of these subsidies and the extensions of them were passed by Congress during a time when Democrats were in control. But let me remind you, they were passed to help people through the COVID pandemic, and Democrats expected them to expire at the end of 2025. And that brings us to today. People have gotten used to the subsidies, and they don't like the thought of losing them, and now believe they have a right to them. The Inflation Reduction Act eliminated the income limits, and that has led to another problem that was never intended. Even more disturbing is that more and more people are turning down their employer health care plans because their copay is more than what they would have to pay on the government subsidy program. The average benchmark premium, which is the pre-tax credit amount used to determine the subsidy applicability percentage, in 2024 was $477 per month. However, 91% of the 21 million people enrolled received a substantial subsidy on their plan, resulting in an average net monthly premium of only $124 for all enrollees. No wonder they're turning down their employer-based health care. Since 2019, about 9% more employees have turned down their employer program to remain on the government one. And this goes against the rules, but the Biden administration chose not to enforce those congressionally mandated rules. The bottom line on this is that Democrats expected these subsidies to expire at the end of this year, but now want to make them permanent. This is typical of most government benefit programs. They're hard to rein in once they become ingrained in the public mind. But the facts around this health care scare are ones the Democrats don't want you to know. If you listen to them, you would assume all Obamacare subsidies that people receive will be going away at the end of the year. But what's the reality? First of all, most Americans do not get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act, so they won't be affected at all. Only about 22 million people have health insurance through the Obamacare marketplace. That's out of a national population of 340 million. So right away, we're talking only about 6.5% of Americans who are affected by the policy change. And only about 2 million would lose their subsidies altogether. Forget that 10 million number the Democrats are throwing out. But these 2 million were never supposed to be eligible for subsidies as the program was originally intended. That's because their incomes are above the 400% of the federal poverty level. For a family of four, husband and wife with 2 children, that would be over $130,000. For most of middle America, that's a salary that most would only dream of making. It's well over the median family income for most people. But Democrats want to keep subsidizing as many people as possible because they hope that will translate the votes. Democrats like to keep us all dependent on government if they have their way. The cost of this is estimated to be about $1.5 trillion over a budget cycle, but Democrats don't want the taxpayers to focus on that part of the equation. But I remind everyone, the enhanced subsidies, the one the Democrats want to make permanent, were only intended to help people during the COVID economic crisis. That crisis has passed. And that brings us back to the government shutdown. The CR before the Senate is the exact same one that was passed in March. It extends government funding until November 21. This was an attempt to give Congress more time to negotiate on the actual appropriations bills. It was an attempt to get Congress to do the job they're tasked to do in the manner they're supposed to do it. But Chuck Schumer's under pressure to find some way to show he's confronting the Trump administration and Republicans. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democratic leader, keeps saying this is not a clean CR. Everyone with an understanding of the bill knows it's not only a clean CR, but it's the same as the one the Democrats voted for in March. The Republican leader, John Thune, has told Schumer that they will negotiate on these tax credits, read that subsidies, in the health appropriations bill. He's also told Schumer there are multiple members on his side of the aisle that want to vote to extend the subsidies. But Schumer has his back to the wall and cannot budge. To do so now would be the end of him being the Democratic leader in the Senate. A logical solution would be for Schumer to tell the Republicans that he will deliver the votes to pass the CR that lasts until November 21. Then have Thune bring the HHS appropriation bill to the floor of the Senate. There will be sufficient votes to extend the tax credits. That's how this stalemate should end, because it's all political theater and not about the tax credits. He cannot move forward. And that's the facts of the thing. Quit listening to the Democratic scare tactics. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.